so great to meet you. I'm really excited to kind of talk to you today. I think just brief background about myself. So I'm a senior here in the College of Business studying finance. Really not ready to leave slow, but they're making me go. But I'd love to hear about you, starting with your career or your time at Cal Poly studying accounting, and then now your role at Blue Jeans as CFO.
Yeah, well, I graduated in 93, so I survived Ted Miller, Doug Irv. When I took 321 and 322, I questioned whether I wanted to be in accounting, but I pushed through it, working out well. I think the Cal Poly experience, a great academic environment, and then the teachers and professors, very accessible. The people are fantastic. That's what I love the most about Cal Poly.
I mean, I know you started out of Cal Poly at the Big Four. I'm assuming it wasn't necessarily the Big Four back then.
Did you say back then? Holy moly. I feel old now.
A couple years ago.
It was 27 years ago. It was the Big Six. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't start at E&Y.
A lot of college students, when we're looking at jobs, it's kind of the decision between, do I start off at a larger firm and kind of get that broad exposure, or do I dive right into, a smaller company and get, maybe the opportunity to have higher impact work? In your experience, you chose the former. What kind of impact do you think starting off at EY had on your career?
Well, going to one of the big firms, they have a great playbook for transitioning you from the academic environment to the real world, at least for the first 2 years. You're well trained. They tell you where to go, what to do. You become an accounting technical expert. With the bigger firms, you get a more diverse set of clients and bosses, so you'll learn how to interact effectively with different personalities. I can tell you in corporate America, if you go into corporate America too early, you deal with the same cast of characters for the most part. And you don't get that diverse experience of working with different people in different settings. And some of my best friends today, including my wife, I met through Ernst & Young.
So kind of my question is, how did you know when it was the right time to kind of transition into these new roles and these new teams? And how did these opportunities find you, or how did you find them? Every
person has his or her own goals and priorities, and you should make decisions based on what those goals are. And sometimes the situation and facts on the ground change, and it's, the transition is put upon you. So going from E&Y after spending 6 years, I thought I was going to be a partner, to join one of my clients. Going from managing small group teams to now working in a place where you got 65 people reporting to me every single day was a big leap.
Yeah, it sounds like, you approach kind of being more fluid and flexible in your career rather than, this is what I'm going to be in 10 years and here's everything I have to do to get there. So I think that's a little comforting to hear for a college student, where you don't have to have everything all planned out or figured out right out of the gate.
I did not have anything planned out. I kind of did little short-term, like, hey, I'd like to be maybe a partner one day, but let me first become a manager. Let me then become a senior manager and then do that. And then I went up to companies like PayPal. Great. I'm just getting my hands wet on the accounting side. And then 2 years later, they say, hey, can you run global FP&A?
Wow.
And I could say no, or I could say sink or swim. And the great thing about Cal Poly is that learn by doing. I did not have any training in FP&A. No finance. I didn't even have a finance concentration. The only finance classes I took were the ones minimally required to graduate. I had to learn by doing, and I had 60 super smart people working for me who just needed leadership, and it worked out really, really well.
So kind of just a follow up to that. I mean, you mentioned sometimes you have to make calls, make decisions, and you're not always right. Can you talk about a time when, maybe you did make kind of the wrong call, the wrong decision, and how you went about remedying it?
So they say you learn a lot more from your mistakes and your successes. Well, I can tell you in my career that I've learned a lot. That means I've made a lot of mistakes. You do learn more from your mistakes, and then you never do it again. So I've made lots of mistakes. But what really helps me to get through these mistakes and things is keep working to find a solution. Keep your mind not on the problem. Don't focus on the problem, because that will keep you up at night. It's like, how do I solve this? How do I solve this? Is there 10 different ways I can figure this out? And you keep working on that. It keeps your mind on the solution, and not, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. I can't believe I did that. And you'll do that all night. You got to own it. You know you made a mistake. Don't try and hide behind it and hope it'll go away. I hit it head on. This is one where I'm sure a lot of people will do, and you got to be really careful about this, is when you're texting people, Sometimes that autofill can be really bad. So I thought I was texting my colleague, but I was texting the CEO because I had the strings mixed up. And I was saying something unflattering about the CEO in my text. And I sent it, and I didn't hear back. And I look at it, I go, why didn't she get back to me? I said, oh my God, I sent it to the CEO. So I was on a Friday. I said, I'm going to be fired on Monday. And so I talked to friends of mine. And I said, what should I do? Should I pretend it wasn't really as bad as what I said? No, I'm not going to do it. So I got with the CEO on Monday and I told him, look, I sent that text. It wasn't meant for you, but here's what I meant and here's what I think. Sorry for that, but not the best way to do it, but it won't happen again. He says, Robert, that took a lot of courage. I appreciate you just heading it head on, on trust. We're good from here on out. This is behind me. And that was it. And that was the CEO at Blue Jeans. Here I am 4 years later. Big career limiting moves. They're survivable if you handle it properly.
I think that's a great piece of advice where, mess ups are inevitable, but you really just have to own up to it. And that's the only way to kind of get past it. Would you say, in addition to that kind of piece of advice, what is something else you wish you knew sooner, or something you would tell someone like myself graduating and entering the workforce be aware of early on?
I would say build your own brand as soon as possible. What do you want to be known for when you're in your first job? Whether you fake it till you make it by working long hours and you could just be in the office and they'd say, wow, Robert's really here late every night, or he's here early every morning. That whole thing built a lot of capital for me, where people would say, Robert, I heard you work really, really hard. And when I was at E&Y, like I said, I volunteered for all the travel experiences. Any job that's outside the Bay Area, who people with families can't travel as much. Now I know what that's like because I have a family. I said, give me all of them. Send me wherever you want. And they always thought that was, wow, what a go-getter. So you want to build that brand really early to be known as, wow, that person really gets things done.
Going back to, in college, we hear a lot about go work in your passions, do what you're passionate about. I'd love to hear kind of, how you found your passions and if you kind of fulfill that part of you outside of work, or if you found a way to implement your passions into your work today.
There's a saying, if you do what you're passionate about, you're not working. If you want to be a doctor because you want to save lives, it's not work, you're saving lives. Finance, it's a little harder. For me, what I'm passionate about, I'm hyper competitive. So there's overlap in what I do. I like to win. And as a CFO, my job is, as I said, allocate resources to best set the company up for success and to win. As a finance person, you don't sell. I always tell the sales guys in the all hands, I say, look, I can't sell. I couldn't close an umbrella. I don't code, but I can invest in the right people for the right job. When they do well, I'm thrilled. I get so excited when they actually do. They hit their numbers. They deliver the product. It's like, look, that was the right decision to make. And when they don't, you learn from it. Winning doesn't have to just be about money. It has to be about hitting milestones or doing something that you said you would do. It doesn't necessarily have to be revenue or bookings or sales. It's really, winning is anything. You said you would do something, you changed the world, and you changed the world. The other thing I would say is find a company that you can align with their mission and you feel good about yourself. You're graduating from a great school with a great program. The people at Cal Poly are terrific. I would say the success rate at Cal Poly is very high because learn by doing and keep doing, and I'm glad I could help.
Awesome. Well, I think that's probably an amazing place to end. I always love speaking with people further along in their careers because I think coming out of college, you're always kind of a little bit nervous about what the path's going to look like. But I've just found in everyone I've spoken to, everyone's path looked a lot different and everyone's had a really fun ride. So, sad as I am to leave slow, I'm getting excited to start the workforce as well.